Hello everyone and welcome to my second farming guide. I decided to split two farming guides because of how in-depth the farming skill is, and the first half covered everything you need to know about the herb side of farming. I'll have a link to that guide in the description and a card up as well if you want to check it out. However, today I'm going to go over the second half of my farming guide, and that is trees. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about both normal trees and fruit trees, keeping it detailed but also as short as possible. To preface the guide, I'm going to dive into some tips and tricks that you can use for your trees, and also for those who want to kind of go to different parts of the guide, timestamps will be included in the description, so keep an eye out for those as well. So anyways, guys, without further ado, I hope you all enjoy, and I hope you all get some help out of this guide. All right, guys, so the first thing I want to go over is the humidify trick with saplings. Do not use a watering can to fill up your saplings and water them. Use the humidify spell from the lunar spell book to automatically water all of them instantly. You can do this, bank the watered saplings, plant all the seeds you can into pots, then use the humidify trick, and it's going to get done a million times quicker. Trust me. Okay, guys, up next. So, one or two ways. You can choose to protect your trees by paying the farmers with a specific item to protect them, or another way that you can do it is using the fertile soil spell or Supercompost to protect them. I want to go over in this real quick, that you should use fertile soil if you choose to use that in coordination with the resurrect crop spells from the Arceus spellbook. If you choose to use fertile soil, because if you have an expensive seed that dies, you can have a chance at resurrecting it and not losing money by using that resurrect crop spell. Note that with the Resurrect Crop spell at 78 magic, when is the level that you are able to use it, you have a 50% chance of the spell working, and it scales all the way up to 99, 99 being 75% chance of that spell working. So it scales to your level, so just keep that in mind. Alright guys, the next trick for your normal tree runs, I should say, is to pay the farmer to chop down your tree. Do not chop down your tree yourself, as it's going to take way much longer, and it's going to speed up your farm runs a lot by just paying a little bit of GP to cut them down. Alright guys, so for this next part, I'm going to try and make this sound as easy as I possibly can. Farming is one of those skills in the game that has really confusing mechanics. The growth mechanics in farming can be confusing, but like I said, I'm going to try and make this sound as simple as I possibly can. So, super compost, what does it do? Super compost or fertile soil reduces the chance of the trees becoming diseased. Because of this, it may still be useful to use super compost or the fertile soil spell even if you pay to protect the trees. And this is because of the growth cycles of trees. If the tree becomes diseased instead of growing, it's now going to take an extra growth cycle to finish growing than if a tree never became diseased at all. And that's why you'll see some trees on your farms be incomplete, even if all the other trees are ready to be checked for health. If one tree that was left out is still growing and it's not ready to be checked yet, it's probably a good indicator that if you protected it, it became diseased along the way and it's not ready to harvest yet. So it still may be useful to use super compost or fertile soil on the trees, even if you're protecting them. That way, it decreases the likability that one of the trees won't be finished by the time you're ready to go. However, in my experience, I only usually do 2 tree runs a day, and I usually do magic trees, which take 8 hours each to grow. And I never use fertile soil on them because I only do 2 runs a day. If you're doing lower level trees and you plan on doing more than 2 runs a day, fertile soil or super compost may be something you can definitely look into, and you can test it out and see how it works for you. But if you're just doing 2 runs a day, I mean, in my personal experience, I have had no problem just protecting them without using the spells. But like I said, if you're using those lower level trees and they take less time to grow and you're doing more tree runs a day, you might want to consider using fertile soil or super compost with protecting them. All right, guys, so for those who have never done a tree run before or have no idea what I'm talking about when I say how do you protect trees, every tree patch has a farmer near it. I'm in Varrock right now, and Tresnor is the farmer that we're going to be talking to, and each one of them has a right-click pay option, which you can bring a certain item for that they want. The item depends on the type of tree that you are planting. For example, if I'm planting yew trees right now, they're going to want cactus spines for that. If you're planting magic trees, it's going to be coconuts, and it just depends on the type of tree. So you're always going to right click, pay the farmer, and they're going to tell you exactly what you want, but don't worry about that. I'm going to put up a chart right now so you all can see exactly what items you need. And as you do more and more tree runs, you'll actually realize what items you need without even having to like look back at this video or, look it up or whatever. You'll just memorize it. But I figured I'll put up the chart right now anyways for those who have never protected trees before or, need to know what items to use.
Alright guys, now before we dive in on the fastest way to get to each of the 5 normal tree patches, I want to go over the items that you need really quickly, just to make sure that you have everything you need. So first thing before we go in the inventory, make sure you have some form of weight reducing armor on, like Graceful. It's just going to help so you might not even have to use a stamina or energy potion to do your normal tree run, especially if you have other methods to restore your run afterwards before you do your fruit tree run. So the first thing you want to bring is a rake. If you've never done a tree run before, there's going to be weeds there, so bring a rake to clear that out. You're going to need a spade also to plant the sapling. Bring your saplings, of course. You'll want to bring 5 of the saplings that you want to plant. You're also going to bring some means of transportation. I don't actually use the spellbook to teleport. I use my house and portals in my house. That's why I bring my house teleports. But if you don't have portals set up in your house to Falador and Lumbridge, then you can just bring the runes for that as well. Up next, bring a Slayer Ring. If you have it, you can teleport using the Slayer Ring to Neve to get to the Gnome Stronghold patch. If you have the Ring of Wealth, also bring that along. You can actually not bring a Falador teleport if you have this, because you can teleport to Falador Park to get to that patch. If you plan on using fertile soil and using magic for your farm runs, you can definitely invest in a rune pouch if you wish. This is going to save you some inventory space, and it's going to let you gear up for your farm run a bit quicker. On top of that, you're going to want to bring a Taverly teleport. If you don't plan on using a Taverly teleport, you can also use the balloon transport system, but I just like to use the Taverly teleport just because it's quick and easy, and it's about the same time. Other than that, just bring a stamina potion or an energy potion if you feel like you need it, and that is all you need for your normal tree runs, guys. Let's go on how to get to each one of them fastest as possible.
Okay, moving on from the tips and tricks, we're going to the fastest possible ways to get to the normal tree location. Starting off with Varrock, we're going to teleport to Varrock. It is actually the fastest way to get here and walk a bit north. Keeping things simple and quick, teleport to Lumbridge for our second location. You're going to walk through the Cook to the west and right outside, right here through this little gate. And the next tree location is going to be right here. Nice and quick, and teleporting to Lumbridge is actually the fastest way to get here. Moving on to Falador, you can teleport to Falador, and the absolutely best method is to use the Ring of Wealth teleport. You can actually teleport right next to the patch, but if you're a noob like me and don't have one, you can teleport to Falador and get there second fastest. Moving on to Taverly, my friend, you are next. Use a house teleport or a house tablet to get there, and you're going to walk a bit east. If we go into the map right now to save us some time here, you want to go to the farming patch right here, and that's going to get you to that Taverly patch. Lastly, very quickly, use a Slayer Ring to the Gnome Stronghold to get to Neve or Steve, depending on what quests you've done. The tree patch will be right here. If you do not have a Slayer Ring, use the Spirit Tree. It's going to put you a bit northeast, and it's a little bit slower, but that's okay. It is the second fastest method.
Alright guys, it is time to move on to part 2 of this guide, and that is fruit trees. Fruit trees are actually very similar to normal trees in the game. The only main difference that I can think of is that fruit trees have a harvestable item that you can pick from them before you can clear them, which provide a little bit of additional XP. And fruit trees also take a lot longer than normal trees do. Fruit trees can take anywhere from 14 to 20 hours to grow fully. So you will only be doing one fruit tree run a day, but it is important to do it because if you do this with your normal tree runs, you can maximize the amount of XP that you get in a day. Also, the reason I wanted to make fruit trees separate from the normal trees is because I'm also going to talk about the Calquat tree later on. Some of you may have no idea what that is, but it kind of ties in with fruit trees, so I'm going to talk about that later and how it can be really good for XP. So let's go ahead and talk about what items you need for fruit trees, and then we can go over the best ways to get to those patches. Alright guys, welcome back. So this is going to be the items that you need to get to all your fruit tree locations, including the Calquat tree patch, which we'll talk about in just a second. So first thing, just like the original tree patches, make sure you have a rake if it's your first time, because there will be weeds. Also, you're going to need a spade again to plant the saplings, of course. Bring the 5 fruit tree saplings of your choice. This time I'm choosing papaya, as well as your Calquat sapling, if you can plant this. This requires 72 farming. Bring a Slayer Ring, or in replace of the Slayer Ring, you can use a Spirit Tree, which actually might be better because the Fruit Tree patch is actually closer to the Spirit Tree than the teleport to Neve is, which is fine, and then you can use the Spirit Tree to get to your next Fruit Tree location, which we'll go over next. In addition to that, use a Rune Pouch if you have it to have the Fertile Soil spells, or if you're bringing Supercompost, don't worry about it. Bring House Tabs for teleports. Like again, same with the portals thing. If you have your own teleports, don't worry about the house tabs. That's just how I teleport around. The Brimhaven teleport. There is a fruit tree patch in Brimhaven, and the Brimhaven house tab is my favorite, and I'm pretty sure it is the fastest way to get to the Brimhaven patch, minus possibly the spirit tree. that you can plant there that might be a bit quicker, but it's a bit more unrealistic. I'm sure most of us won't have that, so I'm not going to include that, but I'll talk about that later with spirit trees. Also bring water runes and law runes if you don't have them in your rune pouch already to teleport to Catherby. Teleporting to Catherby is going to be the quickest way to get to that Catherby patch, so that's why I brought those along with me. You're also going to want to bring the teleport crystal. This is used to get to Letia, but this requires Roving Elves quest to be completed, and this will teleport you to Letia to get to that Letia fruit tree patch. And lastly, just bring some more coins with you so you can pay the farmers to chop down the fruit trees for you after you have cleared out all the harvestable items for the XP, and then you can plant your next sapling. Alright guys, starting things off, teleport with your Slayer Ring to the Gnome Stronghold or Spirit Tree, and this will give you access to the first fruit tree patch of the list. Alright, up next, teleport to the Spirit Tree to Tree Gnome Village, talk to Elkoi through the gate, and there you go, there is our second farm patch. Up next is the Brimhaven patch. Teleport to Ardone and take the charter ship here to Brimhaven, or the absolute fastest method, use a redirection scroll on a house tablet, make a Brimhaven tablet, and that teleporting is the quickest way to get to the Brimhaven patch. Teleport to Camelot or Catherby, whichever magic level and spellbook you have, or use the charter ship from Brimhaven. These are all good ways to get to the Catherby patch. Okay, last but certainly not least is the Letia Fruit Tree patch. Now this patch requires the completion of the quest Roving Elves, because the Roving Elves quest gives you the teleport crystal to get here. And that, my friends, is the last fruit tree patch, minus of course the Calquat Tree patch. Last one we're going to talk about. Alright guys, now something I alluded to earlier was the Calquat Tree. Now the Calquat Tree requires 72 farming, and the Taibo teleport scroll is definitely the fastest way to get to this patch. It's going to teleport you to Taibo One-Eye Trio, and you can walk a bit northeast from that to get to the patch. However, I'm showing you in this video, because I didn't have any of those scrolls, the second best way to get here, and that is using the quest cape to the fairy ring or any fairy ring location and using the code CKR to get here. You could also teleport to Brimhaven during your Brimhaven fruit tree patch and walk over. That is completely fine too. So those are pretty much all the best ways to get here, I would say. If you do want to protect the Calquat tree, you actually have to complete Jungle Potion to protect it. The guy there is going to want 8 Poison Ivy Berries for it, but you can't even offer to protect it until you've done that quest, Jungle Potion. However, I usually don't protect my Calquat trees. I usually just use Fertile Soil, and that works fine for me. I rarely have instances where my Calquat tree dies, and even if it does, you can also use your Resurrect Crop spell here as well. So guys, that is the Calquat tree patch. Highly recommend doing this one. There's only one patch of this in the game. It's very unique, but it does give a hefty amount of XP. You get 12.2k XP from it, so I highly recommend it. Alright guys, one last thing that I really want to talk about is spirit trees. Now spirit trees are a really high level seed that you requires to plant. You need 83 farming to be able to plant one spirit tree. At level 91 you can plant 2 spirit trees, and at level 99 you can plant any spirit tree in all of the patches if you want to. Spirit trees are obtainable from birds' nests. You can trade moleskin and claws to Wyson, the gardener, and Falador. And also, a few monsters will drop them, rarely. You can get these from the Abyssal Sire, Demonic Gorillas, Lizardmen, Shamans, the Winter Tot boss, and Zolra, of course. Now, spirit trees take 58 hours to grow, a whopping 58 hours, which is the longest it takes any tree in the game to grow. However, when you check it for health, you get 19.3k XP to do. So if you have extra spirit seeds in the bank and you have 83 plus farming, this might be worth it for you to do. Also, it may be worth noting that if you plant your spirit tree in the Brimhaven patch, you can use that for your fruit tree runs to get to Brimhaven, and then from Brimhaven, perhaps go to your Calquat tree patch as well. So trees kind of work together. The spirit trees can make your fruit tree runs a bit easier. So that is all for spirit trees, guys. I didn't want to go too much into this because I figured it was pretty self-explanatory, but it can be useful for your tree runs, and it can give you a lot of extra XP if you like it. All right, guys, there you go. There is everything you need to know about farming trees in old school RuneScape. I hope this guide helped you out. And if it did, feel free to leave a like down below or leave a comment. Sometimes it does happen. I will leave out something like, even if it's like something small that'll help out like the guide in some way. I sometimes will forget to include that in the guide somewhere. So if you notice something that I didn't say or something that it could be helpful, feel free to leave that down in the comments below and I'll pin it so everyone else can see. Anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this guide. I hope it helped you out, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you have any guides that you would like me to create and you like guides like this that are short,
kind of between the spectrum of short, but also you get the detail from it so you know what you're doing with that guide. Feel free to leave a comment suggestion down below, and we'll see if we can make that into a guide as well. And guys, other than that, I will see you all in the next video. So take care, and once again, hope it helped you out. I'll see you guys soon.